don't want to, subscribe to some of these narratives, but it's like, I don't know. It's sometimes it can
I
be
yeah.
undeniable.
I think where I've landed on it ultimately is that like Georgia definitely does have an Alabama problem that they don't have with other teams. But I don't think that we can just say that that's true and then just from here on out be like, well, they're never going to beat them. Like I think it would just be a ham-fisted way to talk about football and make predictions just by being like, well, they own them because you still have to play the game. And once you really get into the weeds of it, like there are things that, there are ways that Georgia can beat them. There are ways that Georgia can beat anybody because they're a very good team. But yeah, the Georgia can't beat Bama narrative is well earned. But it's also not like they're literally 0-8 against Bama. If we were sitting here and Georgia had literally never beaten Alabama before ever, then maybe I would just throw my hands up and say they shouldn't even play the game. But I have seen it. I saw Keely Ringo pick off that pass, so I know it can be done. It's just a lot harder to do it against those guys than it is against anyone else. But like Kirby Smart says, I guess that's because it's Alabama. They beat everybody, but they really beat Georgia.
That's fair. Like it might be one, but it is a big one. You won the national championship with that one. And then it's not Georgia's fault that Alabama wasn't good enough to be in the SEC championship the next year when they ran the table. So so here's the stats I have on the game here. So as I always like to do, the stats versus Power 4 competition on the season. Alabama played 10 games versus the P4, Georgia only 9. Georgia averaged 31 a game in those games. Alabama just 27. Almost identical defensive points per game. Georgia 20.4 versus Alabama 19.8. It's insanely consistent how many games Alabama gave up between like 17 and like 24 points. It's almost all of their Power 4 games, but a couple of look at the third down. That was probably the most alarming stat to me. That Alabama was at 41% on the year. What were they doing in their other games? Like, what is 13 of 19? That's like,
how did like
12 of 18 to be 67%. So yeah, roughly 70% of their third downs against Georgia, and they were 41.7% on the season.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, I know this kind of gets lost in the whole 13 conversions of it all, but it's crazy that Alabama was even facing third downs that often. 19 third downs is a lot.
Yeah.
Never mind that it's between the hedges and it's, Georgia fans screaming at you trying to make sure you don't hear the play call. But to even face 19 third downs is a lot. And that's kind of why I think we're due for a little. Now, again, this is all could be famous last words, but I won't hedge. I don't mean to keep hedging my opinion. I'll stop doing that. But I think that we're due for some regression to the mean in the third down category. I don't think Alabama's going to face that many third downs, but I also kind of think this offense is just more prone to third down and third and long situations just because they can't run the ball. Like, they don't do that well on early downs, which is why they face that many third downs. That's why Georgia had them facing 19 third downs in that game because, Alabama in that game, they rushed for 3 yards a carry or whatever. So I do think that this Georgia pass rush, it's not magically fixed. It's not like a great unit right now, but it is a lot better. I mean, Gabe Harris has really become a hell of a player this second half of the year. You've got Zayden Walker starting to do stuff for them. You've got Elijah Griffin really emerging as a nice force in the interior. Him and Christian Miller have been a good duo. So I don't think that there's going to be that same just complete lack of pressure in this game. And I think that Georgia's going to be able to get off the field a little bit better in this game. I mean, I hope so, at least. Shoot, right? Like, I think that is such an egregious statistic to me, that 13 of 19. And Georgia's run defense is so good, and the secondary has been playing so much better, and the pass rush has been better. But I just think all that put together, I think we're due for not 13 of 19 on third down, which will make that made all the difference last game. I think that can make all the difference this game in Georgia's favor.
Yeah, that might be the most lukewarm take of all time, that they won't do 13.
They will not. What if they just do it again?
Yeah, I would say the second most third down conversions they had in a game was South Carolina. They were 8 of 16. 13.
That's a good game, but that's also like normal.
Yeah, that's like normal. So looking at these stats, the not only the rushing offense, like we knew how much better Georgia was at running the ball, 185 yards a game versus 103 for Alabama. But the run defense, I think, kind of surprised me because I feel like Alabama's defense is kind of taking strides kind of the second half of the seaseason. So to see Georgia's now below 100 yards a game, like this makes this kind of on par run defense wise with just Georgia's best defenses in 2020 and 2021, 2022. Like, maybe not. I think one of those years they were giving up like 70 something yards a game on the ground. So maybe not 2021, but below 100 yards a game on the ground is where Georgia belongs. And, this run defense has been really good all year. To see Alabama giving up 138, like Georgia gave up 128 on the ground a year ago, and it was a bad run defense by Georgia standards. So this team can absolutely be gashed on the ground. Like you look at some of their performances they've given up this year, 230 to Florida State, 227 to Georgia.
Really bad.
163 to Missouri, who does have one of the best running backs in college football. 152 last week at Auburn.
Vanderbilt went for like 7 yards a carry on him.
Oh, you're right. Vanderbilt, because they only ran for 135, but it was on like 17 carries or something. Yeah, 7.1 yards a carry. Yeah, you're right. 6.9 versus Georgia. And then on the other side, the Auburn game, go figure, one of the best run defenses in the country, was the first game all season where they've averaged better than 4 yards a carry offensively. So it's been on all Ty Simpson. And to your point, like the 13 of 19 thing, it's like that's just causing a team to execute like so many times, like in high pressure, high leverage situations. And they basically did it in Sanford Stadium, and maybe they can't do that again. They haven't done that against most of the teams they've played. And then there's the Ryan Williams of it all.
Yeah, what's he gonna do, man?
No targets in the Alabama game, like essentially benched. I don't know what's going on with Ryan Williams, like one of the more dynamic receivers. I always did feel like he was on the overrated side, but I did acknowledge, like, to be overrated, you have to be thought of as being really, really good, So he was still really good. Not as consistent as you wanted him to be or expected him to be as an 18-year-old now, his sophomore year in college. But yeah, man, I don't know if obviously Isaiah Horton is producing just fine, but yeah, I mean, without Ryan Williams, their pass offense is not nearly as dangerous in terms of like a big play threat. Like and granted, they didn't make a lot of big plays versus Georgia, and Ryan Williams dropped that one early. There's a reason they were 13 of 19, because it was 3rd and 8 and they'd pick up 12. It was 3rd and 4 and they'd pick up 7. And it was just all day pretty much.
Yeah, that was a really weird. I mean, it's been kind of a weird year for him overall, Williams, but yeah, the fact that he was completely MIA in that Auburn game, and then even against Georgia, he had a dropped 60-yard touchdown pass. Like, it's definitely weird. And Alabama's passing offense is definitely a completely different animal when all three of those guys, Williams, Horton, and Bernard, are all clicking and they're all playing well. They're all in sync with Simpson. So if Williams is just going to be a complete non-factor, like, Ty Simpson is already a guy that I think kind of falls out of rhythm a lot, like for like entire quarters. And if he doesn't have, a guy that's consistently getting open and being consistently reliable, then who knows what that could look like. I mean, obviously good news for them is they still have 2 other really good players there, but yeah, who knows what he's going to come out there looking like, especially against the Georgia secondary. That I know that we haven't talked about this at all, but Daniel Harris hit the portal. But the reason for that is because DeMello Jones and Ellis Robinson have been, balling out lately. They've been the two best corners in that room, and Dalen Everett is still playing pretty solid out there. So that's a really interesting matchup because I think Georgia's secondary is, those corners are way ahead of where they were in the Alabama game and in that whole month of September overall. And Alabama's receivers, particularly really just Ryan Williams. I don't mean to lump Bernard and Horton in with this, but yeah, if Williams isn't the same, dynamic Georgia killer that we know he can be, and he's been in the past, then that adds another weird wrinkle to an Alabama offense that's already pretty inconsistent at best, I'd say. Bad at worst. Oh, you're muted.
My bad. Yeah, to give the receivers credit, and this is anecdotal because we're not necessarily watching every down of an Alabama game the way we are locked into a Georgia game, but I swear I see two or three plays every Alabama game where a dude's running open 40, 50 yards downfield and Ty Simpson overthrows him. Like, I don't know what Ty Simpson's numbers are on his deep ball. I'm not saying he didn't throw a good deep ball, but it seems like there's two or three missed opportunities a game. We saw one against Georgia. That one Ty Simpson drilled, but it was the receiver who dropped it. But so I do think these receivers are still very dangerous. So don't make it sound like Georgia's gonna shackle these receivers. But I'm definitely encouraged of like the steps that Georgia secondary has taken. I think the Texas game, the Georgia Tech game down the stretch, like those are very good defensive performances. Like to give up 19 points total in those two games. Yeah, I am encouraged by that fact.
Yeah, absolutely, man.